Well, tonight probably won't be a full night working on this, but I at least wanted to get out here when I had a little bit of time and at least sort of take the accessory belts off, probably take the headers off, just kind of tear it down as far as I can. Probably pull the other 7 spark plugs out. I already pulled one, the one that had the misfire due to the bad plug wire. So yeah, it'll be kind of a slow and probably relatively boring evening, but it's always worth taking a video when it's something that you don't see every day. So hopefully I'll have time to get this thing all at least naked so you can see every part that we're going to be replacing in its entirety. Well, what I can tell you so far is don't bother taking the nut and washer off of the water pump unless you're replacing it, and don't even bother loosening the tension on the power steering pump because you don't even need to do that to get access to it. This tensioner down here normally has this bearing wheel on it. There is an adjuster on the bottom, and then I just pulled the idler wheel off as well because I'm going to check it for bearing noise. Alternator feels amazing. Water pump feels fantastic. What I've done is I've marked the belts. There was already a yellow mark on the block, so I marked the crank nose even though it's on the reluctor wheel. And then I've marked each cam as well as marking which belt it is, and then I'm only going to do one belt at once. So all I've done so far is just loosen this bolt right here for this bearing wheel. At this point, all I'm going to do is very carefully, slowly, I may have to remove this bearing all the way. I should be able to scoot this belt off of the cam gears all the way around. Now, I'll go ahead and pull this all the way off. Shouldn't hurt. We'll see. I think what you're supposed to do is actually compress and re-dowel that. I'll probably do that after the fact because I'm stupid. Make sure you check these bearing wheels too. They're very expensive, but mine feel brand new. And there we go. So at this point, all I gotta do is get the new belt and then line up the belts together, make those same exact marks in the same exact spots on the new belt, and then you have a reference mark to put it back on there. The service manual for this engine says you need a degree wheel to do all this sort of stuff, and you really don't. There's nothing really that sophisticated about it. You just have to be very careful and diligent to make sure that your marks match up exactly. Because if they're off even a little bit, you risk doing serious, very expensive damage to this engine, which, trust me, you don't want to do. I actually came over to the workbench to do this. You really do need 2 hands to do it. You have to stretch the belt with your hands to make sure that the teeth line up properly. But I've confirmed and I've double checked all this lines up properly. So now I just take the new belt back over to the engine. And all I have to do is align all those marks and then reset the tension. Well, that was a colossal pain in the butt, but it's on there. Timing mark, right hand belt, timing mark, timing mark. Feels pretty good. I actually made this piece out of a key ring and I compressed that in a vise before I started. I've re-snugged all of these bolts. Oops, sorry. On the tensioner, and once those are snug, I'm gonna grab a pliers and pull this out and let it reset the tension on its own. That's a very slow moving but very powerful device. Hopefully I'm able to reuse that on the other side. So, yeah, it feels good. Once you've done the belt on the other side, put the balancer back on it. Well, I mean, torque all the bolts to the factory specification first, but once you've done that, rotate the engine over by hand 3 or 4 times and then recheck all of your timing marks again. And if they all check, then you're good to move on to the next maintenance item. You can definitely see a color difference. Those are both Dayco timing belts. This one's the Ferrari branded one. This one is just the straight up Dayco belt. Same belt, one's just a lot cheaper because it doesn't have the Ferrari prancing horse on it. So I'm gonna keep going here for at least a little while longer. Try to keep you guys in the loop. There we have it. 2 fresh timing belts on the Tipo. Tensioners are definitely set. That one's a little looser. That one's a little tighter. Not sure. I'm going to rotate this one over and let it sit for a couple days, but I may tighten this one up a little bit more. It's not very difficult to do. But I'm going to put the balancer back on and spin it over a couple times now, then recheck the timing marks. Well, it looked simpler than it ended up being, but it really wasn't too bad. Went back and rechecked everything. Timing's all still looking good. I went back and adjusted these tensioner wheels. Actually, might have this one a little bit too tight now, so I'll have to be careful. But once the belt's on and you've checked timing, you can use these 2 little holes to rotate this wheel and compress the tensioner. It's a very slow process, so don't get impatient. But if it looks just a little bit away, you've done a good job. This one, there's almost no clearance at all there. I don't know if it's bottomed out or not, but that's not ideal. So I'm probably going to end up backing that one off just a little bit after it sits overnight. Yeah, it's a nerve-wracking experience putting belts on one of these things, but it looks like it went just fine. So unfortunately, it's getting pretty late and I'm working tomorrow, so it's time to close up shop for tonight. Sorry that was kind of a short little session, but that was a lot of work as it turned out. So I'll definitely get back to it as soon as I can, but again, that's all for today. Thanks for watching.